greetings. Welcome once again to TFT Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with Oberon and Banshee. But this is me, Oberon, with my weekly show, The Outlook on the Emotional Exchanges. And it's kind of like a love, emotional related kind of forecast. So I'm actually doing something rather different today, which is that I am changing my format. It may just be for this week. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to combine the two formats of the emotional exchanges. The first format focused on the reading for the signs as their elemental associations, and I actually pulled 4 cards for each of those readings: air, fire, water, and earth. And then I transformed it into what I'm doing currently for a while now, which is I read 1 and then 2 cards for each sign of the zodiac, just going around the zodiac from Aries to Pisces. But now I'm going to mutate, as they say, and I'm going to combine the two. And here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to use, as I have been using for this latter version, the Final Rose Tarot. And I'm going to read for the elements, according to how I did it before, the 3 positions, which we'll get to in a minute. But then I will draw a card in that elemental association for each of the signs. So for example, if I'm reading air, then I will throw an additional card, 1 each for Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And I'm going to use the deck I used for the word of the week, which was the 1 word, which was sort of a guideline word for you. And I'm going to use that 1 word of the week for each of those signs. And that's from the Egipicios tarot that I used to use. It's a weird kind of tarot because it doesn't really locate the cards in major and minors. It's just one big arcana, numbered 1 through 78. And so what happens with that is there are no suits, there are no court cards after the 22nd major arcana, which is traditional. All the cards just have a basically intuitive type, keyword type word that describes that energy. So let's get started. I've babbled enough perhaps, and we're going to start by reading for the air signs, as I mentioned. Okay, first. So air signs, these are the kind of topics we will explore. We're going to explore, give me one moment, I just need to enlarge the type for me a little bit. Okay, what this week brings to you in terms of an emotional happiness. And then the second card is what kind of emotional challenges or surprises will you face this week. And the third card is what will concern others around you, whether they are emotional relationships or family or platonic, co-workers, etc. Anybody that you may have a closer type of relationship with. You know, these days it could be anybody. And then finally, I will pull for each of the signs in that elemental association a card from the Egipicios to give a 1-week word of guidance. Okay, so we're going to start, and we quarter the deck with those many cuts so that we can read from those signs there. So here we go. And first pile's air, fire, water, and earth. All right. So we're going to read for the air signs first. And air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, as I mentioned. So what is the emotional happiness that you will find this week? And it's the 4 of Swords. So, and I have to get used to the angling and everything here. So it says reassuring rose. This is the happiness that you'll find this week, that maybe this week from an emotional point of view provides healing and a reassurance and rest and recovery from maybe something very stressful and dramatic in terms of emotional things going on around you this week. Okay, air signs, so then what challenges or surprises will you face this week? It's the reversed Page of Cups. It says the day dreamer, but it's reversed. So the kind of surprise you're facing, air signs, this week is that maybe reality for you from an emotional point of view doesn't look exactly like what you imagined or felt it was. This is a Page of Cups energy, but it's overturned. And normally the Page of Cups might be a very dreamy, romantic, poetic, semi-philosophical sort. But for you, maybe there's air signs, there's an illusion that has been disrupted, that you start to face the idea that maybe from an emotional point of view, things are more surprising or challenging. Maybe you didn't guess it quite right in terms of maybe what was going on between you and other people. So then finally, what will affect your other relationships this week? It may not affect all of them, but it could affect either your romantic or family, platonic, co-workers, friends, just people like that. And you've drawn the Empress, which in this deck, the Final Rose, is called the Bachelorette. So perhaps either these relationships around you are going to show you extra care, air signs. Maybe they're going to feel like they wish to bestow upon you a little more generosity or nurturing. It may be that they could also be feeling this way about other people, depending on what exactly your relationship is. But in general, I believe it is a tender vibration coming towards you from the people that you may care about the most, no matter where they fall, whether they're your romances or your friends or family, co-workers, neighbors, whoever they are. All right, so I mentioned I was going to just go ahead and pull a card for each of the elemental signs from the Egipicios Tarot, and I was going to consider that to be their personal word for each sign. So I'm going to give the cards one more little shuffle there, and a cut, and this is the deck we'll use for that. So, air signs, Gemini. Well, air signs, this is a good card for Gemini. It's the Magician. And I would say that Geminis really have the willpower in all of this week to make sure it goes according to plan, to apply their own powers of magic or insight into the matter, something like that. So, very nice. Now, Libra, you're getting the Arcana 55, and it says contrition. And to me, contrition sort of means maybe being willing to express sorrow or ask for forgiveness. So I feel that in this situation that could be going on, Libras, you may feel like you have to play more willing to be forgiven or to seek that kind of balance in the energy that maybe this may not necessarily be true, but maybe you want to be a peacemaker in that way by offering yourself up as a contritionary kind of feeling there. So then finally, Aquarians. And your word of the week is the Arcane 13, or death as we know it from regular tarot. And it says immortality. Well, the other express meaning of this card for an Aquarius would mean that this is a situation, what's going on here, maybe for this week, or maybe a little bit beyond, that will bring about some great change to you. The status quo may actually change based on what's going on, how others feel towards you, how you will find your own happiness, and what matters most to people around you. So don't be surprised if there's a big change, Aquarius. So that's what I had for the air signs. So now we're going to move on to fire signs. And fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And our first card, what happiness will you find this week, you fire signs? What emotional happiness will you find this week? And I have the Tower. It's upright. I'm going to read it upright. So the emotional happiness you find this week is realizing that although things were probably destructive or defeating, you realized you learned something very important emotionally. You maybe turned a corner emotionally with a relationship with somebody or with a situation that you really cared about, and you may realize that there was more destructive energies or not helpful energies there. And so you can move on from that, maybe in good faith, realizing how that worked. So what are the emotional challenges or surprises that you may face this week? And it's the reversed Nine of Pentacles here, called the Nine of Rings. And it says the influencer. Well, to me, when the Nine of Pentacles is reversed, the emotional challenge may be opening up, maybe moving forward, especially from perhaps that first situation. The emotional challenge or surprise may feel like you are ready really to go forth, and that maybe what you do or don't realize is you have strength and you have support or resources behind you, the more traditional meaning of the upright Nine of Pentacles. But I just see that there for you anyway. And I think that's true, that really it will be a challenge, but you should face it. You should open up, you should move into a more active phase, fire signs, if you haven't been, or if you're not really sure if you can. What will concern your relationships this week, whether they're platonic friends or coworkers, neighbors, family members like parents or children, cousins, romantic relationships, all of that. And I have the Emperor. It's upright. So I think somebody in that emotional landscape of yours is feeling a sense of being in charge right now, an autonomy thing. And it may be where it affects you. So it may be somebody who is really indicating to you that they want to be that emperor kind of person. And that doesn't mean they want to lord it over you, but maybe they need a certain level of overseeing or autonomy, maybe even just within your relationship. It could very well be that somebody in your relationship, fire sign, says, I need a little bit of autonomy for myself. And when I'm looking at certain of you fire signs, I just know what they're talking about. So then, which fire signs are we talking about? Possibly, maybe this will show up in the word of the week, which I draw from Egipicios. And of course, the first one for Aries, no, nothing personal here, but it says confusion. So maybe some of these things give you confusion because you don't relate to them or you don't understand them. You don't maybe realize what's going on in your relationships, that people might feel they need to have some power of their own or things of that sort. I mean, maybe you don't understand really why it happened, but you will and you should. Whatever toppled you in that first card, the Tower, you do need to understand that. And maybe you're just confused a little bit about everything, but about how you really move on there. So these are things you do need to ponder. You need to think about them, fire signs, or Aries rather. But for Leo, the word of the week is vehemence. And so it may be, Leos, that you're going to feel very righteous about the situation, and that maybe you need to enact some sort of penalty or vehemence. Really slow down and think about that. Slow down a lot and think about that a lot, because that could just be Leo kind of pride there. And maybe you don't need to do that at all. Maybe you just need to understand what these challenges and concerns that others have in your sphere really are. And then going to Sagittarius, maybe you have the best idea. Your word of the week is regeneration, and it's number 45, whatever that is, in terms of the regular minor arcana. But 4 and 5 do add up to 9, which is kind of like a renewal number. It's sort of like a indication of rebirths, regeneration. So geez, Sagittarians, you have the best idea here, that maybe you just need to pull all these things going on and figure out how to rechannel the energy and maybe do better this time. Be fairer to people if it needs to be, or understand how the challenge really needs to be faced. Understand that you can learn and move on and be happy. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the water signs. Water signs? Water signs, you are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. What gives you emotional happiness this week? Well, you hit the jackpot of the signs so far. You got the 10 of Cups. 10 of Flutes, the proposal. But realistically, what this means is almost everything is going to give you happiness, especially anything really associated with where you find family. So it could take a lot of different meanings depending on who you really are. So check into that. But I'm going to say there's just an overall amount of emotional happiness for water signs. I almost feel like the moon or certain planets must be emphasized in a certain way. What are the emotional challenges or surprises that you might face this week? And it is the 5 of Pentacles, the 5 of Rings, insecure. So, that's usually a card that has a certain degree of regret about it. The challenge may come in the idea that you don't actually realize everybody that you need to include as family from that first card. That maybe there are people who need to be included there, but for some reason or the other, you don't exactly view them in that context. So the emotional challenge or surprise may be feeling that you are leaving somebody out who maybe could really be helpful in helping you with those emotional perspectives at this time. Somebody that wants to hear your story, somebody that wants you to hear their story. Then finally, what will concern all those other relationships in your life? What will concern family, romance, co-workers, neighbors, other people you know, friends? It's the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Mirrors. It's called the Bitch. And that card would seem to resonate to the idea, perhaps, that people around you maybe have to make certain decisions, and that this may affect you emotionally in certain ways, but it may be more likely, in my opinion, that it's just affecting a larger status quo, that maybe this is going to be more about your social circles and where they might overlap with friends or romance or coworkers, but maybe something needs to kind of bring a sense of order to some chaos that's been going on emotionally. And it could take any number of forms. I can't really speculate on that, but I mean, it could just be social bickering. It could just be the internet kind of stuff. Whatever that is, this is going to be where the highlights may show up, that people just maybe are going to say, well, okay, I'm just not going to participate in that anymore. That sounds like it. Now, getting specific with a word of the week from the Egipicios, I'm drawing first for Cancer, and what I see is the word prescription. And so from an emotional point of view, Cancers may feel that they have to prescribe, that they have to sort of advocate for their role or for the role of emotional understanding, emotional caring in this week, that maybe you Cancers are the persons who will try to make people understand what they need to do to be emotionally happy this week, because that seems to be a big part of what's needed to go on. Moving to Scorpios, their card is uncertainty. And Scorpios, from an emotional point of view, you just really are up in the air. You always kind of move between feeling one way or the other, feeling intense ideas, and maybe you just need to slow down and dwell on that idea emotionally. And why do you feel uncertain all the times? What is it you need to do to make yourself understand yourself better in all your relationships? Pisces gets minor arcana, major arcana, whatever arcana, 52, premeditation. So emotionally speaking, Pisces, maybe you're really looking at what could be happening this week. What are the challenges? What are the surprises you face? And maybe you're feeling you need to totally think before you act, especially think about how things are affecting you emotionally, as well as how they may be affecting others emotionally. Do you really want to feel that way? Do you really care if others feel that way, depending on what ends up being your course of action? So that's it for the water signs. So at last, we move on to the earth signs. Earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. What emotional happiness will you find this week? And I know we had this come up in the word of the week for one specific sign, but this is a general for all the earth signs. You're getting card 13, the end. It says death. Well, that's what death is in the regular tarot deck. And of course, I'm drawing more from that idea than this idea about, just the end in terms of, a bachelor or bachelorette dating game. This is talking about a change that maybe represents big emotional change for the earth signs, that maybe you have decided you really need to make big change. It could be in those relationships. Maybe it's choosing happiness. It's choosing being unhappy to find that emotional happiness that we're talking about here. And so whatever that means to you, whether it means changing relationships, changing the focus of relationships, changing anything that just makes you unhappy, seeing a way to find a way to make it change to something more happy. So what are the challenges? What are the surprises? And I suppose that this is challenging or surprising, but maybe earth signs, it's justice, the hot seat reversed. Maybe you have to really kind of play for keeps here. Maybe you have to do something that maybe is a little bit more unexpected, out of your nature. Maybe you have to give a more physical reaction towards whatever these challenges or surprises are, or how you are moving with the challenge or surprise. That this isn't necessarily, stating your ideas and then hoping that they stick. This may be showing physically how you feel and what you are expecting to change or to confront these things. So then finally, does this or how will this or what will concern your other relationships, be they romantic, family, platonic, co-workers, neighbors, whoever they are. It's the Wheel of Fortune, 10, destiny. And so, well, it feels to me that what'll happen is the unexpected. Change will happen just like it was expressed in the first card. The change will be good. So I'm not really giving you the red light here, earth signs, but these changes boil over from you to some of these relationships and would seem to be important. Word of the week for earth signs. Taurus, perhaps this is the secret for you this week. You need to take a pilgrimage. You need to do something that elevates you, that's non-physically elevating, something that's more about your emotional vibratory rate, your spiritual rate. Whatever represents to you in some way the mecca of your emotional life, your emotionality, perhaps that's where you need to go. The word of the week for Virgo is the prodigy. Virgos are the ones who seem to have it together enough to understand things outside of themselves to a more precise point of view. It could be said to be super intelligent, bordering genius-like. There's something that's just really expanding mentally here, and Virgos have it. So when you're thinking about resolving what the challenges are and what the situations are in your emotional realms, you could probably expect to find something that's really extraordinary. And then we're on to Capricorn. Capricorn has veneration. Capricorns need to consider what is sacred in their lives in terms of the emotionality and to put that as above other concerns as they can, especially in this week of dramatic challenges and changes and things going on with many people intensely around us. Put the spotlight on what you should emotionally. So that's what I had for the emotional exchanges. Thanks for coming by. Don't forget to watch our other programming, the Happy Hour tomorrow at 10 a.m., Banshee's Material Matters, 10 a.m. on Sundays, and our live streams, which one will be Sunday afternoon, 2 to 4 p.m. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you join our tarot tribe. So please follow us on all our platforms. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, here on YouTube, and we have a website for business, TFT, tarotfortoday.com. So please support us and follow us.